Now, as a result of the discussions that have taken place over the last several weeks, an agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas.
ಗಲ್ವಾನ್ ದಾಳಿಯ ನಂತರ ಭಾರತ ಹಾಗೂ ಚೀನಾ ಗಡಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ತೀವ್ರ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ತಲುಪಿತ್ತು. 2020ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದ ಘನಘೋರ ದಾಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತ ಸಾವು ನೋವಿನ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಭೀಕರತೆಗೆ ದೇಶವೇ ಬೆಚ್ಚಿ ಬಿದ್ದಿತ್ತು. ಗಲ್ವಾನ್ ಕಣಿವೆಯ ದಾಳಿಯ ನಂತರ ಭಾರತ ಹಾಗೂ ಚೀನಾ ನಡುವಿನ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಹಳಸಿತು. ಉದ್ವಿಗ್ನ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಮುಂದುವರೆದಿತ್ತು. ಸತತ 4 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಚೀನಾ ಜೊತೆಗಿನ ಮಾತುಕತೆ ಕೊನೆಗೂ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಸತತ ಮಾತುಕತೆಯ ನಂತರ ಭಾರತ ಹಾಗೂ ಚೀನಾ ಲಡಾಖ್ ಗಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗಸ್ತು ತಿರುಗಾಟವನ್ನ ಪುನರ್ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿದೆ. ಭಾರತದ ವಿದೇಶಾಂಗ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿ ವಿಕ್ರಮ್ ಮಿಸ್ರಿ ಸುದ್ದಿಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಚೀನಾ ಜೊತೆಗಿನ ಮಾತುಕತೆ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಗಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿನ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ತಿಳಿಯಾಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಉಭಯ ದೇಶಗಳು ಗಸ್ತು ತಿರುಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಪ್ಪಿಗೆಯನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿವೆ ಅಂತ ಮಿಸ್ರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ದ ಸೇನಾ ಪಡೆಯನ್ನ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕರೆಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಚೀನಾ ಕೂಡ ಒಪ್ಪಿದೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಜಂಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಗಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗಸ್ತು ಮತ್ತೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ರಧಾನಿ ನರೇಂದ್ರ ಮೋದಿಯವರ ಬ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ ಶೃಂಗಸಭೆಗಾಗಿ ರಷ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವಾಸಕ್ಕೆ ಭೇಟಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಟೈಮ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಈ ರಾಜತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ಗೆಲುವು ಭಾರತದ ಆತ್ಮವಿಶ್ವಾಸವನ್ನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಲಡಾಖ್ನ ದೀಪ್ಸಾಂಗ್ ಮತ್ತು ದೆಮ್ಚೋಕ್ ವಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಗಸ್ತು ತಿರುಗಾಟ ಶುರುವಾಗಿದೆ. ಕಳೆದ ಕೆಲವು ವಾರಗಳಿಂದ ನಡೆಸಿದ ಸತತ ಮಾತುಕತೆ ಕೂಡ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. 2020ರ ದಾಳಿಯ ನಂತರ ಲಡಾಖ್ ಗಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣವಾದ ಉದ್ವಿಗ್ನ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಿಂದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿಯಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಪ್ರಧಾನಿ ಮೋದಿ, ಚೀನಾ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಕ್ಸಿ ಜಿನ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅಧಿಕೃತ ಪ್ರಕಟಣೆಯನ್ನು ಹೊರಡಿಸಿಲ್ಲ. ವಿದೇಶಾಂಗ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿ ಸುದ್ದಿಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ರಷ್ಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಯಲಿರೋ ಬ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ ಶೃಂಗಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಧಾನಿ ಮೋದಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಕ್ಸಿ ಜಿನ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಔಪಚಾರಿಕ ಮಾತುಕತೆಯನ್ನ ನಡೆಸಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಮಾತುಕತೆಗೂ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ಗಡಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗೆ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಕಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳುವಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿದೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಮಾತುಕತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ರಾಜತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ಗೆಲುವಾಗೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ.
The agreement that has been reached, let me restate what I said earlier. I think what I have said speaks for itself and is fairly clear. There has been, you're aware of the events that took place in 2020 in several areas along the line of actual control. We've been in discussions with Chinese interlocutors, both at a diplomatic level, through the WMCC, as was mentioned earlier as well, and through at the military level as well, through meetings of the military commanders at various levels. These discussions had in the past resulted in the resolution of standoffs at various locations. You're also aware that there were a few areas and few locations where the standoff had not been resolved. Now, as a result of the discussions that have taken place over the last several weeks, an agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas, and this is leading to disengagement and eventually a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020.
We reached an agreement on patrolling and with that the disengagement, we have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. So far, I would say that's as much as I can share with you. I'm sure in due course, iske details वगैरह निकलेंगे.
So, will now India be able to patrol in the areas of Galwan, Dipsang?
No, you see, there are areas which, for various reasons, after 2020, because they had blocked us, so we had blocked them. So दो तरफा था, Bob. So what has happened is we have reached an understanding which will allow the patrolling. For example, you spoke about Depsang. That's not the only place. There are other places also. So I think the understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
Right. So what does this disengagement will finally mean, and how do we now see India-China relation going forward?
I think it's a good development. It's a positive development, and I would say it's a product of very patient and very persevering diplomacy. That, you know, at various points of time, people almost gave up. You can say, you know, this has happened. So we have always maintained that, you know, on the one hand, we had to obviously do the counter deployments, but side by side, we have been negotiating. We've been negotiating in fact since September of 2020, when I met my counterpart, Mr. Wangi, in Moscow at that time. So it has been a very patient process, maybe more complicated than it could and should have been, but whatever it is, the fact is, if we are able, as we now have, to reach an understanding regarding the regarding patrolling, regarding maintaining the observing the sanctity of the LAC, then I think what it does is it creates a basis that the peace and tranquility, which there should be in the border areas, which there was before 2020, hopefully we will be able to come back to that peace and tranquility. And that was our major concern, because we always said that if you disturb the peace and tranquility, how do you expect the rest of the relationship to go forward? So we'll have to see. I would say right now it's your right to speculate. It is my caution as a minister to be careful in responding. So it has just happened, you know. There will be now meetings to see what should be the next steps.
Okay.
So I wouldn't go so fast.
Okay. Understood. Yeah. So let's look at the big picture again when we talk about India's century. So how do you see India-China engagement and relationship going forward? Because if India's century has to be defined as really India's century, this whole balancing game between America and China becomes very important. How India is going to play that game?
You know, I would take your question in a way in three parts. India-China, India-America, and India vis-a-vis China-America. India-China, I mean, in a way, if you look at it, we are the only two countries with more than 1 billion people. We have a certain civilizational history, and, you know, all of that people know. And today we are on a track of, I would say, economic recovery or rejuvenation. And there is no question anybody who's predicting, you know, if you are predicting developments of this century, I mean, definitely you cannot leave India and China out of that equation. We are very, very prominent, very key almost in a way, I would say. But here is the challenge for us, which is that we are neighbors. We have unresolved boundary issue. There are, you know, they have been rising. We have also been rising. So if, you know, if two neighboring countries, two large neighboring countries rise next to each other in the same time frame, it's not easy. There are very, very few historical parallels for that. So managing this you know, double rise, you can say, that too in proximity. You know, if one was in some other part of the world, it's a different issue. I think these will require a lot of skill and a lot of deftness and diplomacy. And the truth is, our capabilities will change, our influence will change, our ambitions will change. You know, both of us will naturally want to be bigger and more visible and more effective in the world. So how do we get an equilibrium in our relationship? I think this is one of the big issues for us and for them.